the social media platforms, so Musk's perspective, and Rogan's to some degree too, mine for that matter, is that the best antiseptic is sunlight. But there might be a flaw in that reasoning, and maybe you can help me think it through. When I'm sitting across from you, I bear the weight of my words, right? It's going to have an impact on the net, but it's also going to impact the relationship I have with you. And so I'm constrained or regulated. I'm regulated in my utterances by consequences. And so there's never been a time really where free speech existed without reputational weight. Now, maybe pamphleteering and that sort of thing, but that's trivial compared to what we have now.
Right.
I mean, how many people can you get your pamphlet to? And what sort of effect is that going to have? That was back in the time of writing, but now your pathology can multiply virtually without end. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's necessary. I thought for Twitter, for example, that there should be two sections. There should be a section where people's identification is validated and a section for the anonymous trolls. And that should be demarcated. So you can go visit hell land of trolls if you want, but you know that they're not real people.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that, as far as I can tell, is the digital ID problem. I mean, the net allows people to escape the reputational consequences of their psychopathology, their destructive, sadistic, corrosive, power-mad, hedonistic psychopathology. It's a terrible thing. And people have no idea how dangerous it is. But if you verify IDs electronically, then we walk down the route to Chinese totalitarianism, something like that, as far as I can.
And if you read the original documentation, Stanford University has its Digi-China project and translates Chinese documents. 2014, they're putting forth a social credit system, and they actually explain that the purpose of the social credit system is to achieve a perfect socialism, because it's not just a social control mechanism. It's a Pavlovian training mechanism.
Right, nudging.
It's like your life becomes a video game nudging you to hold the beliefs that the state wants you to have.
Well, the man who just got elected prime minister in Canada, he says two quite stunning things in his book, which no Canadians read because we'll leave that lie. 75% of the world's fossil fuels have to stay in the ground. Okay, that's proposition number one. And he's made that a centerpiece of his thinking for 20 years. There's no priority guiding every financial decision by every individual and every corporation that should be prioritized higher than decarbonization. That means every single thing, and then he says, of course, there'll be losers in consequence of that, but it's a price we're willing to pay, we have to pay, the sacrifice of others. So this is a man who thinks that net zero is the proper game and that if you were a moral actor, decarbonization would be your God, right? Regulate every single one of your decisions. Well, out of that comes the kind of pathocracy that you described. It's like, you've seen this already. There's edges appearing. There's credit cards, they were issued in Australia that track your carbon footprint, right? And at the moment, you're still allowed to spend on whatever you want, regardless of at the moment. That's exactly right. And once you're fully trackable, well, then we know what'll happen. You know exactly what'll happen. You'll be nudged in whatever direction benefits the power-mad Luciferians. That's exactly what'll happen.
It's not just social control, it is social training. It is operant conditioning. I was looking for the word. It's operant conditioning in its most sophisticated form, especially when equipped with the technologies of AI.
That's for sure, because the AI systems trained on your purchasing behavior, for example, will be able to predict your likely behavior with a stellar degree of accuracy.
That's right.
Right. I mean, the advertisements that you're fed already do that to some degree.
That's right.
So the only solution I can think of to this is to because the digital ID solution seems to be troublesome, to say the least, means no privacy whatsoever, forever, fundamentally.
Yeah.
I guess it's exposing this and hoping that people make wise decisions. And I guess that's what you're trying to do with the woke right idea.
Yes. Yeah. There are workable activities that could step into play. For example, a lot of times you'll hear, especially libertarians, talk about the revision to the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, and now our intelligence communities, we know that our social media is awash with propaganda. Well, there are legal constraints that you can put at least on your own government to prevent that. You can take, if you want to have a task force for doing something in terms of, say, national cybersecurity, keeping Russian and Iranian and Qatari and Chinese bots and bad actors, Pakistani, these are where a lot of these bot networks are coming from. Keeping those influence campaigns, foreign influence campaigns out with a dedicated cybersecurity project is going to clean up a lot of it.
You think the administrators can stay ahead of the bots?
I don't think so. Actually, so far, not yet. I don't know.
Well, no, that's another problem, right? Is that the system transforms itself so rapidly that it's very difficult to regulate it.
What I'm thinking is, Trump created a space force because of maybe space war or whatever it's supposed to do, and I'm not quite sure. But this is I don't want to make it a branch of the military, but I'm using it as an analogy.
I don't know. Maybe it should be a branch of the military.
The cyber security or cyber warfare division, an entire branch that is dedicated to that, because this is a serious problem for, and again, the bigger the country, the more power it wields, the more likely it is to be attacked. Not to be rude to people from Botswana, but there's just not that much incentive to go mess around with their internet. There's a ton of incentive to mess with MAGA, which is informing Trump.
Well, we've already tracked too, some of the groups that I'm working with. Women 18 to 34 have political opinions that are way off center compared to everyone else. Plus, they're dreadfully miserable.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they get 80% of their news from TikTok, and TikTok is a bot farm fundamentally.
Yeah.
And the algorithms are designed to produce exactly the kind of upsetting pathology that characterizes female voters between the ages of 18 to 34.
Well, this is why woke is so female coded. Everybody kind of wonders, what in the world is critical race theory? Why is it so female coded? It's because every bit of what we call woke on the left passed through feminism to mainstream. Yeah. So it was all built off of pathological women trying to figure out how to pathologize young women to join their club or cult, really.
Sure.
It all ended up getting twisted. If you look at communism, that's
part of that oppressor-oppressed narrative.
Soviet communism was not a feminine endeavor, right? Brutal gun shooting, the whole thing. And there's a lot of things you could say about the snitch culture and all of this, but it's not like what we have now, but the reason is because the ideology passed in order to become viable in our society, to find the receptor sites. The receptor sites for Marxism in the West were overwhelmingly young white women, and it had to pass through feminism to be able to get the parasite to attach as a mind virus in order to get there, because that's what it was designed to do. On the other hand, therefore, you have young men who've been ravaged. Dave Rubin and I were talking the other day, and he said that you, as an individual, have done more than, and I believe him, more than any individual on the planet Earth to help young men who've had a hard time through all of this nonsense for the last 20 to 30 years, being a voice in the wilderness to reach and help and guide them and get them to, clean their room and all of the stuff,
And to identify the parasitic predators and keep them at bay.
So what we have now is we had a vulnerability complex that attached to young girls. Now we have another one that's rising in answer that's attaching to young men. So the tragedy for me, and I'm watching this, and I get, I'm integrated with the moms networks of the grassroots moms all over the country, right? And of course, these demons have come up with all kinds of salacious rumors to spread with regard to that, to discredit me and to remove me from their activity, which are all nonsense. But at any rate, what I'm watching is all these moms, I'm hearing from these moms already, who are telling me, they aren't using this phrasing, this is my phrasing, that they by the grace of God, their daughters didn't get pulled into the trans destruction mania, and now they're having to watch their sons get lured into Nazism. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so worked up about this woke right cult of transgression. I get it. You're a 15-year-old boy, maybe you're a 19-year-old boy, or 25-year-old, maybe you're a 35-year-old who hasn't grown up and got out of his parents' basement, and you think it's funny to post a mustache man meme or two here and there to rile up the libs and the normal people in the left and everybody else.
Plus, you're irritated that your identity has been targeted for 30 years.
Yeah, of course.
On racial grounds, right?
Just like the way the Germans felt with the imposition of the Treaty of Versailles, if they saw it that way, whether we do or not, how the Germans felt about the French and broader Europe and the rest of their standing in the world.
Yeah.
And they were impoverished and they were broken down. It's the same powder keg. Or maybe that's not the right word. It's more like a tank of propane, because you're going to pump it up and get it to spray fire when it comes out the other end.